Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Michael Kalvak joining us. Last week, we romanced the stone a little bit. He's an author, a poet, an innovator. My goodness, there's so many titles to you. And then, of course, the old Master Life, Master Death, and Be Forever. Intuitive Mind Services, just one of the many businesses he has and can help you with. And we're back again with him. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. I was in the midst of a Zoom meeting with Christian Michelson or something like that, a famous guy.
Well, I don't know him. Should I?
It's like a coach of the coach. He's a coach's coach, for life coaching and stuff.
I didn't know that. Look at this. That's good. All people can improve. Coaches can.
I see a lot of people were on the show, because they help each other, support each other.
Yeah.
Money makers. So I knew quite a few people that actually they showed up with a recommendation, not on the show, it just recorded. But it was interesting on the side because it's funny because they're talking about people not having confidence. And that's not what I want to talk about today. But I was thinking is that it saddens me to have people think that. Okay, because if you think about what do you really lack, I mean, you may lack skills. Okay, so if you're going into when you travel someplace new, you're always a little apprehensive because if you don't know the people there, what's going to happen. So being apprehensive is okay. It's a natural thing. But if people would just take time to figure out what do they need to do for this particular problem and what skills do they have that can be applied to it.
Yeah.
Then you don't have time to worry about if you're confident or not. Because I learned that a long time ago. I was very shy when I was a kid. I'm not adventurous, but I'm shy.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean I want to talk to people, but I'm just shy. And so when I went to University of Brown, and I decided that, it's time to go out. In high school, I went out a little bit, but I was too young, a little mature. And so starting to go out and stuff. And, so the first thing I faced was what everybody faces, young boys and stuff, most of them, is that, what if they say no? It's just like, it's your body. And I go, I don't want to be said no to, but I'm not going to worry about it. So I just watch the girls around there and find someone I like, and I go up and just start talking to her. Which is really hard for me to do, because I'm shy.
Oh, maybe years ago, not this Michael Cal.
It was years ago, but at least they knew I was sincere, which I figured was a good thing. Okay, and ask them out, and more often than not, they said yes, even though I was really shy still. I hadn't really kissed very much or anything. And so I just figured that the way you deal with your fears is just to go face them. It's called conversion therapy when I became a psychiatrist. And, and if you do it enough, after a while, it just becomes a habit.
Yeah.
You just go face your fear and you find out it's not as big as you think it was. Or thought it was. And so I think one of the things that helps with confidence, is understanding actually what love really is. And English is a bad language for love. I mean, not for writing poetry. I mean, it's very imagined, it's a lot of images and stuff you can do, but we only have one word, I mean, if you go to Catholic Church, you got agape, which is like God's love, okay, or love community, then you have just love. Well, love is mixed with lust, okay, and romance can be lustful or not lustful, and then what happens is, you think, okay, if I go out of the way to ask her out and we get involved in stuff, well, what do I get back? It's like contract negotiation, which is always there in a sense, okay, in terms of actual relationships per se. Yeah. But I was thinking, the last couple of days, because of your show, and you, just about when I talk about being romantic, what does that really mean for me? What do I do that explains why a shy person like me has really a lot of success with women? And you know what it was? It's so simple. And I actually, today I thought it's what the Buddha taught. Okay, now the Buddha taught a lot of things, but the Buddha was a very wise fellow. And one of the things he said, which is I don't think ever understood properly, is that hatred is never, ever overcome by hatred, only by love. Wow. Now, when you say that word in English, maybe in Sanskrit, they probably have 10,000 words for love. Okay, it's probably a little different, but translating to English, it's kind of nebulous. you see, because people think of emotional love,
Okay.
or motherly love, which
Yeah.
is actually higher than emotional love. And, and what it really is that if you think about it, and this is where my Kabbalah side comes in, about God, which I think is a family. And it's, like I said that before, it's a hexad, and that's not God. That's just the agents of God. You call them like angels, the angels. Okay. God can't act in the world directly. You have to have an agent. It's like we can't do anything unless we're an agent. And so what it really is that, when they talk about love, we get confused because what we should start with is goodness.
Okay.
And the Kabbalists say that the creator made the universe for one reason, which is probably not the source, but first level guy, okay? And the reason the creator created the universe is because the creator wants to bestow goodness on all creatures.
Okay.
Okay. Now that sounds okay. Everybody should be good. No, that's not what it says. What it says basically is everybody does what they think is good. And I've never met anybody, that ever violated that rule. Now, sometimes people, do hateful things or feel bad about themselves. Okay. But you see, they want to continue doing it unless it serves some need in them, which would be a goodness. You see, because goodness doesn't mean good. Goodness just means the power to do what you need to do. And so if you use love for that word, it gets misunderstood because the question is, okay, goodness goes, how does goodness be used? If you're a nice person, and pretty wise, you go, well, like you, for example, you and your kids, okay, now that's motherly, so it's a little bit biological, but you want the best for your children.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's altruistic caring, right?
Yeah.
It's about them before it's about you.
It's so
And
true.
that's when Jesus, when the Jews, the first command, and he'll almost guys said it too, but Jesus said, love God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, blah, blah. You love everyone else yourself. That doesn't make any sense because most people don't love themselves. Okay, so that's pretty easy to satisfy. But to love them more than yourself. So the only way you could love someone more than yourself is with wisdom. Okay, and so what love really is love is goodness under wisdom. Because a wise person realizes that it doesn't pay to be egotistical. It doesn't pay to take all the resources and hoard them. Okay, because you're not to help mankind develop the best you can. Present people keeps them from developing. And so love is really about wisdom and about goodness. And when you're wise, you realize after a lot of experience in life, because we start out egotistical, and that the best goodness, the best feeling comes from helping someone else. Okay, so there you go back to what your romance really be. And this is my secret.
Okay.
Is what I've discovered, okay, is that I've loved a lot of women. Okay, and sometimes they love you back. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes logistics doesn't work. But, other than the first few times, when you're a kid and you get heartbroken, blah, 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 put those aside, is that what I found is that I can control who I love.
Yeah. Okay.
And I could love you, which means I want you to have everything best for you and your children. It doesn't require you to give me anything back at all. Right. And so
it depends. Some men are needier than others. It's yeah. I don't know. Keep going. I'm listening.
And it's not like you can do this all the time. Okay. Basically, but when people learn that just love people, you don't have to tell them, but once you get in a state of loving, which means you're trying to will goodness for everyone else, everything opens up. True. It doesn't mean hard things don't happen in your life. It doesn't mean people don't take advantage of you. It doesn't mean people are mean to you. But you know what? They can't win.
Yeah.
And it's off the side, but the government hates me, U.S. government, because I don't like how they behave.
Okay.
I never violated a rule. Well, I got to keep parking ticket once or twice, but I don't violate the rules. But I know the rules, and I don't like it when people in authority don't go by the rules. Because why should they expect us to go by it if the police don't go by it, or the senators don't go by it, or the congressman, or whatever crappy president we have that was elected out of ignorance of the population. That's how we know what to do anyway. Yeah. Unless you're with them, and so So life is okay when you're loving, because you don't have time to hate anymore. You can get disgusted with somebody's behavior because it is disgusting,
Yeah.
but it doesn't bother you so much anymore, and as time goes on, the more you love, just for the sake of loving, which is channeling God's goodness to wherever you can go, then life is pretty good for you.
Yeah.
And I've been rich, I've been poor, I've been beaten up, all kinds of stuff, but I don't care. And you get to a place where you actually don't care. And when I mean you don't care, it sounds backwards, but caring usually has an obligation to it. I'll care for you if you care for me. And that, if you find the right partner, that works out pretty good. But you should want more than that.
Yeah.
And so I tell people, it's like, imagine God is goodness and love. Is all we do is channel it. We're just a vehicle for channeling that betwixt each other. And once you realize it's not something we create, it's something you make, we're not responsible for it. We're just responsible for sharing it properly.
True.
Life gets much, much better. And so if you make a mistake, you go, I made a mistake. Okay, I'm a little remorseful because that person got hurt because of my mistake. That's all there's to it. There's no self-blame. There's no guilt. There's no, down talking yourself like most people do all the time. And I used to tell patients, because if they're Jewish, I'd have to do Jewish stuff. If they're Christian, wasn't they doing Buddhist I ever saw, but if you use the context they came in, okay, especially for the with Judaism and Christianity, you got got the Old Testament, both. So I tell patients, I said, let me ask you something. You ever read Genesis? And most of them say yes in the South.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, well, this is a really simple question. I just imagine you're on the first page of Genesis. We don't have to go to the second page. It's the first chapter, the first page. It's 2 columns like that. Okay, so what did God say? And I said, okay, well, God said, what do you have dominion over? Well, you have the fish and the birds and the animals and the plants and blah, 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 blah. Said, what is the one thing God left out of that part of the Bible? Kind of look at me like I'm crazy. I go, no. Did God give you dominion over yourself? And he didn't, or she didn't, or whatever God is, didn't, okay? And so we always have access to a higher power, and whether you can be an atheist or not, I don't really care. But if that's all you want to be, you're not going to get very far in your happiness in life. There's no way you can, and you don't have to overdefine what God is. But there is like something in the universe. I was talking to this lady this other day, and she said, people think abundance means you collect things, right? More money, more clients, more this. Abundance just is. And you can either tune into it and allow it into your life, or you can close off to it and be restricted and compressed. And love's the same way, caring's the same way, everything's the same way. It's out there. It's formless, but it's out there. And it's all you do is tune into it. And once you do it on a regular basis, you change. And you change in a way that gives you greater peace and happiness and clarity. The kingdom of God within, so to speak, or heaven, if you don't want to mention God.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's so complicated, But my only regret is that problem is with loving easily. Sometimes people do fall in love with you, and the problem is it won't work logistically. So it's like a danger there that you got to be aware of that. That woman may fall in love because I've been kind to her and helping her, and just being kind and helping her. Of course, I like her because I want to talk to her again. And so you got to be careful. And I learned a long time ago when I was in medical school that you can't have more than one girlfriend at one time. It's going to sound terrible, but I had ended up with 4 girlfriends. I wasn't planning on this, 4 girlfriends at one time.
Oh my! How did you have time for that? And well, I guess you were
again.
really...
First I was in the graduate school part of medical school, so I had.
Oh my goodness!
And so one day, they all had issues in their lives, and they're pretty serious issues.
Yeah.
Okay. And so here I was stuck, having to figure out how can I deal with 4 women that I care about. I did, and it helped them at the same time. And I succeeded, okay? I did. But I learned my lesson there. that you can't dilute yourself too much, because then you might not be available when somebody really needs you. So I tried not to do that anymore, which I'm pretty good at. Not having that. One's enough.
Got it.
But I mean, there's downsides to everything. I think every approach to life, unless you're a monk. The downside is you don't have any girlfriends or boyfriends, or who knows what kind of friends.
But I'm trying to think, I could never have four boyfriends at once. I can only handle one at one time, and that's even hard to handle. Four at once?
I have to admit, it was interesting, but it wasn't.
How did they feel?
Well, they didn't know.
They didn't find out. It wasn't like
never found out.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't just girlfriends. I mean, it was like serious girlfriends. Okay. But this other side of me is that, like, probably because I'm an engineer, chemical engineer. And other side is when you go in life, you have to have contingency plans. Okay. If this don't work out, what are you gonna do? In a business, there was a lot. And so I discovered that I sort of did contingency planning management with women. Just to kind of, I wasn't take advantage of them, but just like which one's going to work,
Yeah.
Well,
this is good for this. This one's good for this. This one's good for that. Yeah, yeah.
But now it doesn't really pay. So that's what I learned. But I did find out, I was talking to Ashley, that I think we have 5 more shows, but she's going to look into it. Because our original thing was 10, but then she said, well, you do this thing too, which I did. And also, I talked to Brave New TV, or what it is.
Oh, good. Oh, cool. Yay.
They said they called me.
I'm going to see all of Michael Kell. Yay.
Yeah, I know. They called me and said, hey, we've been researching you. There's this new niche out there, and we have all this AI guys. It's a long time talking with John Kelly.
You need your own show. Yes.
Yeah, and so I go, okay, this is good. How much it cost me? Not that much. Okay, that's fine. This is good. But I mentioned you. I said, how do you find out me? It must have been Jill must have said something, because I saw that you were on that show.
Yeah, I have my own show. I don't know if it was about being on my show or your own show or both. That's awesome.
That was about it. Starting a new show. So,
awesome.
So I did mention you that it's something, because I thought it had to come from you, because of these shows. We saw those, but that wasn't why. We went back and looked at everything about you. I said, everything about me? Yeah. Well, okay, if you still like me after everything you know, then that's a good sign.
Awesome. And then you'll come to New York. Yay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you need your own show for sure. Yeah. It would be like forever. You can have a weekly show, even a monthly show, but that would last you a lifetime. You have so many stories, so much background, so much. Yeah. You could be doing what I'm doing too. You host your own show. Yeah. Then it's kind of boring if you're talking to yourself, I guess. It's good to have a host. And then I'm without a job, so you should have a host.
I think it'd be good. I was kind of excited. I never thought I would do a podcasting again.
And here you are.
10 years, but I'm thinking, actually, I like doing it. It was fun to do, as long as I have some control over. I did with sponsors. I paid for it. Okay, I mean, the church paid for it, 9 years, because I didn't want anybody to think that I was sponsoring something because I'm getting paid. Okay, but I've sort of got over that part now after 20 years, 30 years. But at least you can pick your sponsors and stuff. So I don't mind doing it, because I do have a lot to share. I think that's probably useful.
Yeah, I think so.
I'd like to have a chance to do it again. And so I'm sure you feel this way, but it's, money's nice to have. In fact, it's important to have. But, I never looked at my bank book first. I mean, I had this, I'll tell you this story. This is really important. But when I used to do drug treatment, I did narcotics treatment. Okay, so methadone.
You did narcotics. Wait, what? What'd you say?
Methadone
research?
Treatment. Methadone. New York people don't be in my neighborhood.
Okay,
fine. I don't really care about that. But so we were in a nice building, nice area, and everything else and stuff. So I had this patient came, name was Tracy, and she had been sexually abused since she was 2.5 years old. She was a heroin addict, cocaine addict, and it finally came into my clinic. Now, this was designed to be middle class, not too fancy, not too unfancy. We had potluck dinners, Christmas parties, try to get the people back into doing regular things. And she was talking to me one day, because this is a Medicaid patient, so I had to talk to her once a week to get paid. So she was talking to me, and a lot of times when they talk, I just sort of listen half out one ear, because bullshit, blah, 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 blah. But Tracy that day goes, excuse my phone, Dr. Cal.
Okay.
I go, what, Tracy? She goes, I want to thank you for letting me be in this clinic. And I go, well, you're welcome. You're welcome. And she goes, and you'll be very proud of me. I realized she'd been sexually abused, terrible life, okay, all her life. She's like 35, looks like she's 50. But she goes, you'll be very proud of me. And I go, why, Tracy? Well, I'd be proud of you for. Or what am I going to be proud of you for? What I probably said. And she said, because I know you don't want me to shoot drugs anymore. And so I've stopped shooting drugs and I'm not a prostitute anymore. I do a little crack, and stuff. And I got a job as a stripper. I was thinking,
You said,
let me stop for a
you're
second.
like, wait,
I was thinking,
oh, did I just lose you?
for a second. But, and I told her, I said, I've had rock stars and stuff come to me, and rich people, but of all the people I've come, I'm most proud of you. And I was genuinely proud because you made it such a big change just to stop using drugs. For you, it was an immense change, and she beamed, of course, because she got some appreciation finally. And, then 2 weeks later, she got arrested for some stupid leftover charge, and got out of treatment and probably sabotaged her whole life. But so that's like love, working, caring, compassion, and it happens a lot of times. You don't realize it. It happens when you don't even pay attention to it. If you radiate that, just to people and they're open to it, they can do miraculous things, which is just really God working through you, us, or higher power, whatever you want to call it, to do that. So, any time left? Still got time?
Yes, we still got 5 minutes left. Of course we do.
Oh, good. So you can ask some questions then.
Well, it's funny because you're always all over the place, which makes you so unique where you need your own show because you have so much to talk about. Last week the topic was romance, right? This week our topic is kind of just as is all the above, but I know you're a true believer in love and I have a question about love, right? I'll pick your doctorate brain, right?
Is anyone left?
How come when the chemistry, you must know about this, but when two people fall in love, you love each other, right? There's a certain chemistry and that whole thing where they say after 6 months, things kind of go downhill. Like, what does that mean? Does it mean that you really get to know the person, or is it this really the thing with like endorphins in our mind and our body that are taking over that we're not aware to really what's going on? And it seems like it's all amazing and great. And then it's not. Yeah. Explain that concept of the whole,
I can.
You can?
Well, not even with neuroscience, but I mean, okay, the thing of evolution, and we know this to be with hunter-gatherers, okay? Evolution is that the average woman had I think 4 or 5 children, in her life if she didn't get killed, okay? And so what the purpose of, in those days purpose is to breed. Animals breed, okay? It's to breed. And so in order to breed and have a kid, you have to have all this biochemistry working, okay? And so there's something about that person that you need or like or whatever, okay? And then all this chemistry and the brain stuff gets going, okay? So we have lust. Animals have lust. I don't know about it, but we know about it, okay? And so lust leads to children. Now, in the ancient days, the relationships usually lasted like 3 years, as best they can tell, archaeology and stuff.
Yeah.
And they lasted until the woman was done feeding the done breastfeeding the baby, okay? If now she go back and take it with them and gather and stuff, okay? And so the people would just separate. And then she'd find another one, usually. And so our evolutionary background a long time ago is about multiple partners. But there's a period that we have to be with them, that they have to be supported. The woman has to be supported for like 3 years for no reasons. And so the people that did that succeeded, okay? Which means they probably wasn't as much screwing around like we have nowadays as it was in those days.
Okay.
Because they had responsibilities. And so that's the danger, is lust. Now, I'm a very lusty person, okay, with women. Lusty person. But I've learned that lust doesn't pay unless you're careful. Okay. And so you can want somebody, but you have to take the time to find out if you really like them. And that might actually, cyber dating is a good idea. I mean, if it's like finding a partner like Match.com, because you have time on, especially with video, you have time to get to know that person, and you can't be very lustful, right? You can't get sidetracked into getting into bed. Okay, so you have to see if you really like that person, and vice versa, and that takes some time. And so what happens is that once you get to know somebody, well, I think sometimes it works a lot better, which I think cases like people find a schoolmate from the old days, and they get married later on in life, it works out fine.
Yeah.
And they may not be that lustful because you're usually older, but it's because you know that person, and you're not tricked by your biochemistry, just breed. There's a danger, and they should teach the kids that's a danger.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you think back to your first relationships, I don't know if you're like 15, there's always lust, but you get sucked into these relationships, but there's no way and it hardly ever lasts. Okay. But I was lucky because I had to start. I have a cousin, Rebecca, I don't talk to her anymore, but I knew her as a baby. I knew her as 8 years old. I knew her was 15. And I saw her when I was 31. When I saw her up to 15, she didn't speak English and I speak Norwegian, but I spent a whole summer with her. So she and I saw each other every day. I know it's pretty innocent, some kissing and stuff, but it was innocent, okay? Because we were innocent. But I had to learn to read her. It's every expression she had, how she held her body. I mean, it wasn't unconsciously. So she and I could express our feelings because we didn't have really that good a language to do it in. But I was thinking this morning that, that somebody asked me, can love last for 20 years? And I go, well, I didn't love, well, it wasn't love at 8. It's 8 months old there, but I wasn't 15. And then at 31, we're still in love. And so there's this first real love that actually can't be together. For some reason, we're not allowed to be together. We made love, but we're not allowed to be together. But I can say that love has lasted for 16 to 73.
Oh. Wow.
And, there's a lot of interesting things happening in there, but it was just like, it's still there.
Yeah.
And so there's something about first loves that can be pure.
True.
And if you have that love that is pure, even if you can't have it, it's still there. Nobody can take it away. That's why I learned that love just is, and caring just is. But I think most people don't get the advantage of that because lust takes over first.
Yep.
And I have a test.
We didn't even get to finish the question, Mike. I see we could talk forever. And unfortunately, we're out of time.
Okay, that's okay. Okay.
I'm sorry, but yeah, you could be the love guru, love doctor. I want to hear your advice. We'll talk more next week. What?
We can. Okay.
Actually, what were you going to say?
I said, actually, I had a friend of mine, a publicist, said you should get a new show called the Love Psychiatrist, the Love Doctor. I go,
you got something there.
Yeah.
We'll talk soon. All right.
Bye-bye. Take care.
And never take offense. This woman is a busy woman, and I love you. I think you're great. I wish I had more time to talk personally to get to know you better on a one-on-one basis. I'm lucky I can take care of myself and wash my hair every day. We'll talk soon. I promise.
You'll have time.
I will. Absolutely. Michael, you're amazing. Thank you. And if we want to reach out to you, how do we get you? Tell us the website.
Okay. I'm gonna make this even simpler. Okay. Just use my old-fashioned email, which I read every day for sure. It's KELL MJ Michael John at AOL.com.
Okay.
I get 1 million emails a day, so what's a couple more million matter? But put something in the subject line, okay? So like I know I want to talk to you or something.
Perfect.
And then I would do my best to get back to you. That way I won't lose it because it's some other email I hardly ever use.
Good. Thank you so much.
I hope your foot gets better soon.
Okay, 4 to 6 weeks. Exciting. We'll talk about that next time. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Bye, sweetheart.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.